So once upon a time, a very long time ago, there was a monastery. It was a very well-to-do monastery, and it had vineyards, and people came to visit it, and they had picnics on the lawn outside, and everybody was happy, and that people wanted to come and join it. It was a wonderful place, and people were very blessed by its presence in the neighbourhood. But then a time came when the disease hit the grapes, and the wine was not so good. And with that came the blame from the different monks for each other, whose fault it might be. And over time, some of the monks left and some died, and the monastery began to dwindle. Now, next door to the monastery, leaning up against the wall, was a little retreat cottage. And people would come to visit it and stay in it for a few days or for a week. And once a year, for a week, the rabbi from the local town would come and stay there. And the abbot, taking one of the last bottles of wine, which he kept locked away in his room upstairs, where he was said to imbibe from it quite frequently, went down to go and see the rabbi. And he knocked on the rabbi's door and was invited in. The rabbi said, "And how are things?" And the abbot said, "Oh, you don't want to know." The rabbi said, "Well, I think you perhaps want to tell me." So the abbot described the decline and how he was worried about it and what he was going to do and what he might not be able to do. And the rabbi just said, "Invite me to dinner tomorrow and I will speak to the monks." Well, the abbot didn't know what the rabbi might say or do, but he thought he'd nothing to lose, so he was invited to dinner. And after the grace had been said, the abbot stood up and introduced the rabbi, and the rabbi said, "I'm only going to say one thing to you all. The Messiah is among you." And then with that, he sat down and ate his dinner. Well, the monks looked around at each other. They thought, well, who could it be? It can't be the abbot. I mean, everybody knows he keeps the last bottles of wine up in his room and he drinks from them every night. I mean, it can't possibly be him as Messiah. And it can't be Brother Cedric. I mean, after all, look at him. He's in the garden all the time. And he keeps all the best vegetables and fruits for himself. And, well, the cook can't be him. I mean, whatever stores he gets in, he just piles on one side for himself. And he's so fat, look at him. And as they looked round, they couldn't understand who it might be. But you know, as the days passed and they couldn't work it out, they also couldn't work out who it wasn't. And so they began to change their attitudes towards each other. And they shared their things and they made sure that everybody had a fair share of what was going on. And over time, the vineyards picked up and the people started to come back and picnic on the lawns. And the monastery once began to be successful, but only because people felt welcome and wanted, and because things were fair and people loved each other. I think there's a message in there in the current times for us.